Well, welcome everyone. We are glad you are here with us for our Sunday morning worship service. I am Doug Coker-Cowan, a member of the Board of Trustees of this church. We are glad you are here, whether you are present in the sanctuary this morning or watching remotely. It is good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better after the service. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual, religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant with one another. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. We have a pulpit announcement today. The word is out. It is time to start thinking past tomorrow. Plan to participate in Auction 2024 musicals. Is it? Find the auction information page on the top navigation on the church website. Or find links in the weekly Connect newsletter. And starting today through October, visit the auction table in Creeves Hall for anything and everything you need to know.
I'll be there.
Lindy, donation forms and suggestions, ticket purchase for silent and live are already in waiting for everything to be going your way. Thank you.
If you are online, we would love for you to greet each other in the chat. And if you're here in person, please give a wave and a good morning smile to a person that you did not come with.
light this chalice for the UU shared value of interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility we acknowledge our place in it. Because we value interdependence, we vow to act. Thus, we covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships.
Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to this place of love, this place of communal flourishing. We enter this worship space to open our hearts, to expand our minds, and to see the sacred within each other. Come, let us worship together.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 134, Our World is One.
Please join me in stating our mission statement. We gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world toward fairness, love, and compassion.
At the June 2024 Unitarian Universalist General Assembly, delegates of the many Unitarian Universalist congregations across the nation gathered online to vote on the changes to the Unitarian Universalist Association's bylaws, specifically Article 2 of those bylaws. Article 2 of the UUA bylaws is where the purposes and covenant section resides.
The changes to this section were many, but the largest change was to the part that included our Unitarian Universalist 7 principles and 6 sources. For over 60 years, those principles and sources, with only minor changes, have remained much the same.
The process to review and then change this section of the UUA bylaws was long and thorough. We'll not hash out the details here. If you'd like to learn about them, though, please contact Steve or myself, and we are happy to direct you to where you can find all of that information.
Ultimately, though, the process to change is rooted in how we understand ourselves to be a living tradition. Unitarian Universalism is a living manifestation of our changing world.
We also understand that the loss of our principles and sources as a primary resource is difficult. But there are three things to remember. One, they are part of our history and legacy. They never truly leave us. Two, they were never belief statements. We don't have belief statements. Indeed, Article 2 requires that we cannot have a belief statement to be a member congregation of the UUA. You might believe in the principles, but we cannot collectively claim them as our belief or doctrine. Three, they are not lost. Rather, they have taken a new form, and you will see them in our many new values.
Which brings us to today. The UU principles have been updated with our new shared UU values. You will see elements of our principles in them, but you will also see some new language, some which is stronger, more specific, and no longer simply aspirational.
In fact, that might be my new favorite part of our values. Centered around the word love, the 6 new values each have a clear statement of what they mean, which is aspirational and clear, but are followed by a promise, a covenant of action. We no longer say that the inherent worth and dignity of every person is important. We commit to making the inherent worth and dignity a reality.
And there's a new way for us to learn our values, a way that Reverend Mandy is not too terribly fond of, but it works really well.
It does.
So let me demonstrate. I want to introduce to you Jensen L. Jetpig. And the reason why we have Jensen L. Jetpig is because his last name helps us to remember the 6 values. They spell out his name. Ella, can you help me? Do you remember what these are? Come on up. So we have his last name starts with J, what does J stand for?
Justice.
E,
Equity.
T,
Transformation.
P,
Pluralism.
I,
Interdependence.
G.
Generosity.
And what's his middle initial?
L for love.
L for love. I did not coach her today. We did this last week in kids' worship. So, J. Justice. E. Equity. T. Transformation. P. Pluralism. I. Interdependence. G. Generosity. And his middle initial is L.
It works. May not be my favorite, but it works. Over the course of this program year, we will spend a Sunday each month focusing on one of the new values and the 2 other sections of Article 2 later in the spring. Our Sunday worship will explore that value, the theological grounding for that value, and what it might look like to covenant and act on that value.
And between the 2 worship services, all the learning opportunities, children, youth, and adult, will offer space to dig more deeply into our new values together. We will consider what these values mean to us and how we can live them in the world.
We know that change, especially change that involves something we feel so strongly about, is hard. You should know that I and Steve are still learning and growing into our new values too. Yet I am deeply excited and deeply grateful to be part of a religious tradition who believes in change. What other religion or faith tradition truly changes? Together, we get to embark on a new way of understanding our Unitarian Universalist identity and bringing about the transformation we wish to see in the world. I, for one, am thrilled to be part of this momentous step for our tradition.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 158, Praise the Source of Faith and Learning.
Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationships that we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week, we offer the opportunity to share our joys and concerns aloud here from the pulpit. Today's flowers were given by Elaine Waite. She writes, "May the beauty of these delicate flowers symbolize the treasure of our warm friendships, our caring connection, and our immense and deep appreciation for one another within our uniquely special DUUC family." I have only one joy to share with you all, and it's mine. On Tuesday, I will celebrate the anniversary, as I hope you all will, of my 2-year anniversary of my ordination and installation as your minister. What a 2 years it's been. It's exciting, and I fall in love with you all more each day. I am so delighted to be your minister. Thank you. Whether our joys or sorrows are shared aloud here or we hold them in our heart, know that we are a community that loves and cares for one another. Please know that myself and our pastoral ministries team are available for you as a listening ear or a support system. And everyone in this community cares for one another. Please let's take a moment to hold each other in a moment of silence.
It's time to gather. I would like to invite our young people and young at heart to come forward and join Reverend Mandy in our gathering area. For our gathering today, Reverend Mandy, Tina, and I have a little skit for your learning pleasure.
Hey Steve, what's up? You seem deep in thought.
Hi Tina. I've been reading about the African concept of Ubuntu. It's fascinating, but I'm having a hard time fully grasping it.
Ubuntu? I thought we were talking about interdependence today. What's Ubuntu?
Well, it's an African philosophy that emphasizes communal relationships, interconnectedness, and mutual care. I'm pretty sure it's a way of thinking about interdependence, but I thought I would ask Mandy about it. She's always been a great source of wisdom.
That sounds like a great idea. Can I join you?
Of course, let's go. You made a face, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Hi, Mandy. We're hoping you could help us understand the concept of Ubuntu better.
Ubuntu, one of my favorite topics. Please, have a seat. Ubuntu is a Nguni Bantu term meaning humanity towards others. It's often translated as I am because we are, reflecting the belief that our individual well-being is deeply connected to the well-being of the community.
How does this concept influence daily life?
Ubuntu influences every aspect of life. It's about showing compassion, respect, and solidarity. For instance, if someone in the community is in need, the entire community comes together to support them. It's about seeing ourselves in each other and working toward the common good.
So it's like the idea that we're all interconnected and that our actions affect one another?
Exactly. Ubuntu teaches that true humanity is realized through our relationships with others. It's not just a principle, but a way of life. It encourages us to act with empathy and to build strong, supportive communities.
That's beautiful. It seems like a powerful way to foster harmony and understanding.
It is. In traditional settings, Ubuntu is expressed through communal activities like shared meals, collective decision-making, and mutual support in times of trouble. It helps to create a sense of belonging and to reinforce the idea that we are part of a larger whole.
I see now. It's about more than just helping others. It's about recognizing our interdependence and valuing each other's existence.
Precisely. Ubuntu is a reminder that our humanity is bound up with the humanity of others. When we live by these values, we build a more just and caring world.
I'd love to see, excuse me, I'd love to see how this philosophy can be applied to our own lives. Maybe we can start small, like helping out in our community or being more mindful of our interactions.
That sounds like a great idea. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Mandy.
You are welcome. Remember, Ubuntu is not just a concept, but a way of being. Carry it in your heart and let it guide your actions.
And so Steve and Tina left Mandy with a newfound understanding of Ubuntu, ready to incorporate its principles into their lives and into the lives of the people in the church. The end.
Okay, so realistically, your staff team here at DUUC, which also includes our administrator, Sherry Regalado, our choir director, Amanda Thomas, and our pianist, Vera Palin, does not intentionally practice Ubuntu, but we do practice interdependence.
Believe it or not, the way most churches do their work is not usually done with the focus on interdependence. Most often, each area of a congregation is separated by what it does, or by age, or by what is the staff responsibility versus the board versus what belongs to the lay leaders.
In church lingo, we call this siloing. Too often in a church, what is happening in children's religious education never gets beyond the doors of our classrooms. What happens in social justice never impacts the board, how the board works together.
And this also often extends to our staff teams. The work of the membership professional is completely separate from that of the religious educator, the administrator, or the music staff. And too often, the minister is seen as the most important staff member, elite and aloof from the others.
So the staff here at DUC does not work this way. We see the congregation as an interconnected web in which one thing connects to everything else. It is why we do whole church ministry. So worship relates to all of our educational pieces and is often connected to the many other initiatives that we are doing.
Take adult learning as an example. While Steve is responsible and accountable for adult learning, I provide an important perspective for adult learning as a membership professional. From new membership classes to faith formation classes that deepen our understanding of our identity as members. My input in adult learning is vital to understanding a more complex picture of how we do adult religious education. In the same way, Reverend Mandy, who is responsible for leadership, provides important perspectives on how we do that through adult learning. And in reverse, Steve's input informs both Mandy and my work.
Moreover, the pool of volunteers that Tina cultivates to engage in our congregation would be underserved without the leadership development classes that are needed, and I would be ill-informed about Tina's perspective on membership and engagement's impact on leadership development, and Steve provides all sorts of more input. And on the connections go. Each of us plays an important part to ensure that the connections that are needed to fulfill the mission and vision of DUUC are fulfilled.
More importantly, there is literally no I in our team. Beyond the things that we are responsible for, we work hard to build trust with each other. We give each other critical feedback to be better professionals and better people. We respect that no one of us can hold a complete picture of the entirety of our work, and no one of us can know or do it all. It is hard work, as we sometimes have to set aside our own personal viewpoints or passions for the greater picture. But it is also really rewarding work because it allows our work to be more meaningful.
Interdependence is truly how our staff team collaborates to ensure that we're serving the mission of this congregation. More often than not, it means that our decision-making is done together. I truly am because we are.
Let's sing to the children as they return to their places.
The giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community. Your contribution supports the programs and operations of DuPage UU Church. Giving is also how we live our values in the world. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offering team. During September, our special offering will benefit the Alive Center of Naperville. The Alive Center was nominated by DUC member Dean Reschke, who is a founding member of Alive. Their mission is to be a teen-led, teen-driven center, focused on empowering the youth of today to become the impassioned, resilient leaders of tomorrow. As a nonprofit organization, they offer free drop-in hours after school and over the summer, as well as a myriad of programs, classes, and events. These are designed to build confident and resilient teens. It is a place to belong and learn important life skills. The morning's offering to support the work of DuPage UU Church and the Alive Center of Naperville is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
This first new value that we're examining probably looks pretty familiar. Our former seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of existence, is woven right into the words, we honor the interdependent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. This is a beloved principle by many of us, and rightly so. We are connected to the entire web of creation, and for many years, we have exploited and destroyed the natural world in pursuit of dominance and power and money. We are now faced with climate extinction, or climate change and species extinction. It's why the covenant aspect of this value is so very important when it says, we covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality, and justice. Now, I want to name a really hard truth here, and it might make you uncomfortable. And I'm asking you to sit with me in that discomfort, for this is a truth that I, too, struggle with. I actually think it's easy for us to recognize the interdependent web of creation. What is entirely more difficult, and something that we avoid as both humans and Unitarian Universalists, is recognizing the interdependence of our humanity. For many of us, it's easier to take a walk in the woods than to engage in conversations with each other, especially when people feel more foreign and uncomfortable than the quiet nature that surrounds us. There are at least two ways that this has shown up in Unitarian Universalist spaces. One, for many years, there was a movement afoot to reverse the order of the first UU principle, the inherent worth and dignity of all people, with the seventh, the respect for interdependent web of all existence. While the surface argument was that it was a move to recognize the hyper-individualist culture of our faith tradition, which certainly needs to be addressed, there's also the underlying supremacist culture that often unconsciously makes us avoid the premises of the first principle, which calls us to fight against racism and oppression. The second way this has shown up is through the resources, volunteers, money, and initiatives that are filtered toward climate justice programs in UU churches with more enthusiasm than other topics of justice, such as racial justice or women's reproductive rights. Especially when that climate justice work avoids the intersectional reality of the work. Because climate justice truly, truly is completely an intersectional issue. You cannot speak about climate justice without acknowledging the inherent narrative of dominance and control that is rooted in supremacy. You cannot speak about climate justice without speaking about those affected by it: the poor, children, Black, brown, Indigenous, Asian, and Pacific Islander populations. And so, when I look at our new value of interdependence, I was thrilled to realize that the wording of this new value included a challenge to address some of the ways we've truly failed to live into our former seventh principle. And none so more than the sentence that I left out when I quoted the covenant portion of the value earlier. The covenant portion states, "We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality, and justice." But it ends with one short sentence, which I think is at the heart of the theology of interdependence. "We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships." At face value, this can be interpreted as repairing our Earth, but the key word here is relationships. we have an obligation to all relationships. We have an obligation, both natural and human. This sentence is key to remembering that this value is not simply about the earth, but our human relations as well. As we consider this new value, including how we've failed to live into it, I would like us to consider the theological framework of Ubuntu as a possible foundation for our value of interdependence. You may have heard of this term before. It's often upheld as a beautiful paradigm for community, and it truly is. But Ubuntu is something that is completely opposite to anything that Western culture understands. Ubuntu is not simply making sure that other people are cared for or considered. I have to admit that I worry about bringing this concept forward because I don't know if I can truly convey this idea. Ubuntu is a concept so utterly foreign from anything that I can even begin to understand. I've spoken many times of how we all have frameworks through which we see the world. A framework that is invisible because it's taught to us as just a normal part of life. We're not even conscious of it, like the framework of individualism, of the Western world, the American pull yourselves up by the bootstraps attitude. It's unconsciously ingrained in each of us as the way we view the world. And to break that, we have to intentionally take steps to focus on not having that framework. So when I speak about Ubuntu, this is a framework to living in the world that I'm not sure we can ever fully grasp, because it's so radically different from how we understand the world. Though I do believe that we can intentionally get closer. There's a story of Ubuntu that is told. An anthropologist from the West proposed a game to children in an African village. He placed a basket of fruit beneath a tree and told the children that the first one to get to the basket would win all the fruit. The children grabbed each other's arms and raced to the basket together, sharing the fruit. When the anthropologist asked the children why they ran together, they explained that not one could be happy while the others were not. Ubuntu, I am because we are. What I find particularly fascinating about the concept is how those who grew up in such a philosophy find it so natural and normal to think of others as part of themselves, not just before themselves. Even if one child were to run and grab the fruit to share with others, it would still involve the ego from being a benefactor. But the automatic reaction of these children is to run together. There is no thought that one cannot be without the other. I believe that most of us recognize the Ubuntu of creation, that we cannot be without our planet. We need oxygen, light, food, and water. We recognize that our actions have an impact on the ecosystem, real and significant consequences for all of us. I am not convinced, however, that we truly understand the interdependence of humanity. I am because we are. I suspect we don't understand this because we're taught desensitization, to not feel and share empathy with others, that we are taught to only have care for ourselves. I suspect we don't understand our interconnectedness because we are taught the practice of othering, of rejecting that which is even minutely different from ourselves, which includes those who have different views, opinions, and practices, even when they look like us. It is easier for many of us to see the connectedness to a tree, the oxygen it provides, the shade it covers us with, and the peace it surrounds us with, than each other. And it truly is easier to be in nature than with people. How many times do I know this? It is hard to be in community, to recognize that we need one another. What we fail to see is that we are literally formed by each other. Who we are as is a reality because of the people who formed us, our parents, our teachers, our friends, our family, for good or ill. They formed us. Even random encounters at a store or a doctor's appointment teach us about ourselves, force us to consider how we need to change or to expand our horizons in new ways. And ultimately, we cause harm and need to repair relationships because that's what being human is. Harm is the result of our interactions, and that too makes us grow. A form of interdependence, of repair. A form of transformation that allows us to become more of a realization of who we are as human beings. Interdependence is recognizing that we are a part of each other, that we became who we are because of each other, and that we can only reach our potential because of each other, which includes our mistakes as much as it does all the good ways we impact each other. The last sentence of the covenant portion of this value, in my opinion, is the reminder that this value is about our connection as humans and how we can transform ourselves and the world. Now, lest we leave here today thinking that Reverend Mandy does not think climate justice is important, that could not be further from the truth. My very first sermon to you all was about our planet and our interconnectedness. And on September 29th, we will participate in the UUA's Climate Justice Revival Service. I invite you to join us. Rather, I firmly believe that if we recognize our human interconnectedness, that spark of the divine which lives within each other, we will be even more impactful in how we take care of and repair our planet. The philosophy of Ubuntu is a splendid theological framework for interdependence in our culture of separateness. Ubuntu teaches us that we literally do not and cannot exist without one another. The truth of this is something we are only beginning to understand. And so I leave you today to consider the people, both known and unknown, through good and hard times that made you who you are today. From this, consider all the yet unknown encounters with each person here and beyond, which may yet transform you, and the ways that you will transform others through encounters we cannot yet know. We do truly need each other. I am, because we are.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing hymn number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and
slide. Sorry. Will you please join me in reciting our value of interdependence? As Unitarian Universalists, we share the value of interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. Because we value interdependence, we vow to act. Thus, we covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships.
Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of community